Welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast with author Sarah F. Hathaway and co-host Chen Gibson. Blending survival, fiction, and fact to bring you entertaining education that will help you dream, survive, and thrive. And now, here's your host, Sarah F. Hathaway and Chen Gibson.
Hello, and welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast. This is episode number 345. And Chen, what's up, buddy?
Things are just flowing, right? I mean, I'm rolling here.
Yeah, I know. We had a flood in northern Texas, and it's not looking good. No. So the show must go on. We're in a little bit of scramble mode at my house due to my 10-year-old son and his beloved toilet. So, about 8 gallons of water off the floor later, and I'm learning all about flood cleanup.
Is that going to be in next week's report?
Yeah. That's gonna hit nationwide news right there. I was like, oh man, is this an insurance claim? But everything looks good. The drywall didn't get it. Everything's looking good. So
nice.
We're just adapting and overcoming today.
Yep.
I'm still trying to find the button to get over to the live feed. I'm just a frazzle. I'm a frazzle right now.
Survive and thrive.
That's right. Yeah. Life is going to throw you curveballs and you're going to make mistakes. And how you recover is the test of
how much lemonade you get to drink.
That's right. That's right. That's what tests your mettle right there is your reaction.
Your 10-year-old child.
My son's lucky. I've been studying a lot of Bible and never, never discipline
grace.
When you're angry.
Isn't it called grace? We need to have grace.
Yes. So we talked about like making mistakes and just owning them. And boy, I wish more people would do that nowadays, but So today we've got, it's just a crazy day. And we all know, we've been talking about it on the show for a while. We got some supply shortages coming. We had them last year. We've had this crazy weather. And on the chapter on the little house in the big woods today, they were talking about making sugar
treats.
Yeah.
Time for treats.
That sounded so good, too, because I've been out to where they make the fresh syrup and whatnot. And oh, my gosh, it's so good up in Michigan. So, you ever get a chance to do that. And I recommend buying the good stuff, not the synthetic stuff. I know it's way more expensive, but oh my gosh, is it worth it?
There's a big difference.
Yeah, you only need like a tiny bit of the real stuff too.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Yep, just tiny.
No, I'm thinking a mortgage out. Second mortgage when I make pancakes and put the syrup on.
For your syrup needs?
Yeah. Oh, I love syrup. I love drowning it.
That's so good, right? I can be frugal. That's good.
No, I can't. I have no self-control.
So Laura talks about sugar snow and her pod mentioned it. And she's like, what does that mean? Well, the weather begun to warm and then they got another cold snap and he's all excited about sugar snow. And she doesn't understand this. She leaves to go to Grandpa's and comes back with a bucket of syrup and milk pans of brown sugar and little sweet cakes made out of brown sugar. Yum, and more yum. And
that cold snap gets it flowing, right? The sap flowing.
Yeah, for a second time.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So it goes once when it starts warming up, then the cold will freeze it again, and then boom, you get a second run.
Yep.
So that's why it's so awesome.
Yeah.
And in reading about it, I guess you need a ton of sap to make a tiny bit of syrup.
40 gallons.
40 gallons of sap to make
one finished syrup.
To 1 gallon of finished syrup. I mean, that's a lot. It reminds me of doing tomato paste. That was like the worst ever, making our own tomato paste. It was good. Don't get me wrong. But man, you need like a whole vat of tomatoes we started with. And we cooked it for hours. And we ended up with like 6 pints of tomato paste.
Yeah.
It was, I would suggest buying the stuff at the store as long as you can. It was a whole lot of work for not a big outcome.
My tip of the week. Get it while you can.
Yeah, get it while you can, man, because Yeah, you're not using tomato paste once everything's done. It takes way too many tomatoes to do that. Kind of the same thing here, but I think sugar's a little bit more worth it in the long run because you can do so much with sugar.
Mm-hmm. Helps medicine go down.
We tried that. Christian had to take some medicine, and I'm like, here's a little sugar. He's like, like, oh, I guess it doesn't work.
darn Mary Poppins.
Yeah, darn that Mary Poppins. Where's she at? I'm telling you. So, Grandpa made his wooden buckets and little troughs from cedar and white ash trees. I thought that was kind of pertinent because it didn't make the syrup taste weird. So cedar is kind of one of those trees that just always comes up. And cedars grow a lot around a lot of the country. So definitely a good tree to have in your area. Pretty fast.
I thought cedar would add flavor.
Right?
Because it has such a smell to it.
And bugs don't like cedar either. So.
Yeah.
And then he'd, of course, make the little holes in the maple tree. Don't worry, it doesn't hurt the tree. It heals itself.
6 teeth, 7 each hole.
Yes, and it heals itself. And so, so we can give the tree a big hug. It's still going to produce for us in the future. So the sap would flow out and he'd catch it in the buckets, and then he'd go around every day and collect all this sap in this huge barrel, which obviously he needed because you need like 40 gallons of this stuff to make a gallon. Know, right? It's crazy.
They said a tree yields 3 to 4 gallons a day, and each tree averages a little over 13 gallons per season.
Okay.
So really, it's not a long season. That's probably why they're so happy for that sugar snow for that second round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then he can make enough to last the whole year instead of just a portion of it.
Yeah.
So then he cooks it in this huge iron kettle, hung between two trees. I've seen that. They still do it basically the same way. And then you have to hold it at the perfect boil. It can't boil over, but it's got to be boiling. They skim all the impurities off the top as it's going. And then when it's boiled down, you pour it into the buckets. And then you continue boiling the rest until it starts to grain over. Then you stop the fire, get it off the fire, and pour it into milk pans, and it'll harden into your brown sugar, which is also very yummy with butter over popcorn. I was looking so good. Just saying, like a little personal note. So got me thinking, because sugar is one of the things that I've found on the list of like stuff to stock for the upcoming shortages. And so it got me kind of thinking about, all right, what things are we stocking for? How can we produce our own sugar? If we're going to be leaning back into communities, then how do we supply sugar for our community?
And it's such a morale boost too, right? I mean, if you could provide somebody with some form of sweets, like a candy or some kind of baked good that's sweet, after they've been eating just protein and veggies and working their butt off,
ration bars.
I mean, to have some reason to have a celebration and whip out some sugar product, you'd be like queen of the.
Oh yes.
You'd
be like number one in my
neighborhood.
Book. You can eat cake, right?
Yeah.
So, prices were on the increase before the war with Ukraine. So they're like, oh, it's because of the war. Everything's because of the war. Everything. We're going to blame it all on Russia. So I don't think Russia's to blame for everything. And prices were on the increase way before that. And it's basically because they went out and printed so many dollar bills that's kind of what happened to prices. It's not that things got more expensive. It's that your dollar is not going as far anymore. Germany was like the big story over the weekend. Food prices went up 20 to 50% in one weekend.
That's crazy.
Right? Could you imagine, like, you go to the store on Friday.
Why did I put off?
Right? Yeah.
Why did I go to the movies last night?
Yeah. Or like you forgot to buy something and you go back and it's like now 50% more than what it would have been just 2 days ago. Yeah. And then the farmers and ranchers have been talking about the fertilizer price increase and stuff for a while. And so now our trade embargoes and stuff is just going to like amplify this problem. So vegetable oil, cereals, dairy, meat, and sugar. The prices are way up and they're rising. What's interesting too is like somehow last year, really, they were forecasting like, oh, it's going to be more expensive this year, but next year we're taking measures to make sure that it's not more expensive. And then they were like, oh, yeah, it's going to be more expensive because, certain supplies didn't come in, that kind of thing. What I found interesting was a lot of the actual sugar shortages are due to Brazil's. We've been talking about Brazil on the show like almost every week. Luckily, they're not in the Changing Earth news today. Yay, Brazil. And we got hit with those weird winters up north, that kind of thing. So this was all really coming to a head way before we ever. This just gives them a convenient excuse in my book. Let's see. So
hey, I was just looking up maple syrup production. What's the number 2 exporter in the world for maple syrup?
Canada?
No, Canada's number 1.
Canada's number 1, then us?
Nope.
Russia?
We're number 3.
We're number 3? Well, of course, because we don't make anything anymore. Russia? Miramar.
Yeah. Where'd that come from?
Right?
Okay.
Wow.
That was just my little squirrel moment.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. I kind of figured us in Canada, but nope.
Crazy.
Miramar snuck in there.
Miramar's beating the U.S. Yep. Come on, guys.
Southeast
where we
Asia.
At?
Yep.
Yeah. They got maple trees.
Fun fact of the show.
Interesting. I wonder if they're natural or not. I'm going to have to do more research now. Okay. Because they like take the maple trees over there. Is there a native maple tree to that area? Crazy.
I don't know. Yeah, I know. It's just odd.
So, of course, a large portion of the wheat's coming from Ukraine and Russia. I don't know what happened to America there. Especially, I kind of take pride in wheat because my husband's family was North Dakota wheat farmers. They still farm our properties up there for wheat. So I'm like, well, I know that somebody's producing some in the United States, but we're certainly not topping it out anymore. So they expect that food prices, fuel prices, fertilizer is the biggie for our farmers. Aluminum and then neon. And they're talking about, okay, with the fertilizers, well, we can go back to manure and stuff like that. It'll get interesting to see what happens, what kind of market shifts happen because of this.
I was listening to some radio show. I think it was on the radio. I don't even think it was a podcast. And the guy was talking about how, no, it was a podcast. And the guy was talking about how used to be like farms when they were smaller farms that they were kind of not self-sustaining, but like, so the cows provided the manure. The manure was used to, fertilize the fields. The fields provided food for the cows
to go all the way back around again. We do the same with our chickens.
And then when the tractor came into the scene, then, we didn't have as much manure. We had to figure out how to get fertilizer. And, so it fractured there once they started using the mechanism. Yep.
Interesting.
Yep. I thought that was interesting. Exactly.
That is. And we have like so much manure. If you've ever driven through like Nebraska and that, oh my gosh, like cow fields with just like piles, like the cows are standing on piles of manure out there. It's crazy. It's like,
don't they have cow patty tossing contests?
No, I've never done a cow patty tossing contest. So yeah, fertilizer, aluminum is going to affect our canned goods, and it's even affecting like pet foods and stuff, like because all the cat food, right? And then the neon, of course, and then China's locking down again because of COVID right now. So supply, I mean, we can go round and round about that.
Is that economic war?
Right?
Are they just playing?
I don't know, but they're locking down again. Like Shanghai is locked down to like where it was during like mega pandemic levels.
Because there's zero COVID policy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are like a fourth of the population in China. China almost has 4 times the population that we do, but we import twice as much food as China does. Is that crazy or what? Like, why are we importing so much food? What happened to us? Like,
we used to be like the breadbasket, right?
Right?
Wasn't that like the Amber Waves?
We were the breadbasket of the world.
Yeah.
What are we doing? What are we doing? And why are we taking this away from our farmers? This is just insanity. So, ways that you guys can prepare for this kind of thing. You're going to have to think like your grandparents did, right?
Yep.
The grandparents that survived the Great Depression, they saved like their Ziploc bags. If you unwrapped a present, they like saved the wrapping paper and like.
No more tearing open the presents.
Right? Because our dollar is worth less. Oh, yeah. So it's just going to get worse and worse.
My grandmother used to like get her nails in there and just kind of get that tape to ease up a bit.
And then fold it all carefully and put it to the side. Already. Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, there's some shifts that we became this really disposable society.
Yep.
We're going to have to break away from that. I mean,
and it's so hard to, I think we've talked about this before, but trying to fix something nowadays, it's brutally difficult because a lot of the stuff is just made to
do one thing,
made to be thrown out after it stops working.
Right. But like sometimes like parts. The wrench you need is like more expensive than just having somebody come do it for you. Yeah. Or the product. Right.
Yeah. My wife got an air filter and the filters were almost as much as the whole put together unit with the filters in it.
Right.
It's almost like you might as well just, when the filters go bad, you might as well just buy a whole nother unit.
Like your printer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The ink cartridges are crazy. And like you can buy a printer for like super cheap. You might as well just buy a new printer with the ink cartridges in it.
It's insane.
Yeah. So your money, your dollar is going to be worth less. And items that you think are going to go up, try and lock in prices now. So buy two, and put one away.
One.
Like we tend to like even dip into some of our stuff like before. I hate going to the store, so I'll buy like a ton and then I'll just be like, we don't need to go yet. We can dip it. We don't need right now. We need to just keep going and buying it.
Yeah, keep getting it while you can because you know that tomato paste.
Man, forget it. No tomato paste. You're just going to make the spaghetti sauce. You're just going to cook it all day because,
my mom used to make tomato sauce. Yeah, boil it all down. Cook it all down, whatever.
Heck yeah. That's how I still roll.
Yeah, to get the skins out. Oh, you got to get the skins.
Oh, yeah. You got to get and stew the tomatoes and everything. Yep.
Yeah.
So also bulk purchases. I always try to buy bulk. And then, like you can buy a pork tenderloin for super cheap. And then you can cut it up into like tons of meals.
Or buy the chicken.
Right.
Like a whole chicken. Raised chickens, buy the whole chicken and cut it up into the parts.
Yourself. You're going to save money.
It's not that hard.
Go in with somebody on a cow, half a cow. As long as you can store it, you know how to preserve it, do it now.
The problem there is getting freezers. Those are hard to find.
Right. I was lucky because we already did before everything happened. Yeah, we already had ours because we do, we raised a lot of meat and stuff like that. People are cutting out the stores altogether and going straight to the farmers, which is perfect.
Smart.
Perfect. Yeah, I'd love to hear that that's a trend that's happening because that's why I've been like, go back to your farmers.
It's so much better. Oh,
you need them. Yeah, like have that relationship now. People are getting animals or they're buying straight from the ranchers. So that's awesome too. That's what we try to do as well. And then, we have our chickens. Man, those chickens make a lot of eggs, So I'm going to need to do a show on like preserving eggs because I'm like, well, we can sell them, or I can figure out how to put them in my freezer, or
don't you? There's other things there's tons of.
Put them in the salt. You can store them in salt. For a long time. I saw like a lime brine
in a crock,
or something.
Right? You put them in like a crock and
Anyway, we'll have to do a show.
My wife puts them after she eats the pickles. She saves the jar with the pickle juice and throws boiled eggs in them.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, pickled eggs. I mean, boom.
Oh, yeah, they're so good.
You can
what a great snack to like you work it outside, you run inside, grab an egg, go back out.
You can basically pickle anything.
Yeah.
And it's the best way to store stuff because you don't have to pressure can it most of the time.
Yeah.
You can just
and that way she's like reuse it. I mean, we already had the pickled juice because we ate the pickles, right?
Right.
So, we got the jar, we got the juice. She just boils some eggs and throws them in there.
Right.
And it's
and
like
it'll
double
store
down
longer term. You know,
and
that's
it
not
tastes so
like,
good.
Yeah. Okay. Plant your gardens. So, guys, if you got space, get planting. This year is really important, and I know that most of us don't have to get their gardens in as early as we do in Texas. Mine's doing really good this year, though, despite the winds that just came in. So I'm still praying for good harvest and everything. Oh, James, PBN, told me about how his grandfather would like do the fish, plant the tomato, put the soaker hose in, and then on the tomato cage, he would wrap it in cellophane. So it was like its own little greenhouse. We did that with our tomato cages this year, and it's been awesome because usually the Texas wind will blow the plant over, rip it out by the roots.
Hooray, Intrepid Commander.
Yes, Intrepid Commander. Whoop. Thank you for that one. My tomatoes are finally getting big. They're strong. They take some wind, you know, but it's not nearly as intense because they have their own little like greenhouses. We could just cut a hole in the top as soon as they go up. So, we got a beep beep situation. You still there, Chin?
I am. What happened?
I don't know. That was just Skype being weirdo. Well, that's what you get when you're doing live shows.
Somebody doesn't like fish heads in your tomatoes.
Yeah. Come on. Gotta have my fish heads. We didn't put any fish down underneath of it. I know we should have, but the soil we've been making our own soil here, and we finally got it turned over really good this year. So next year is definitely a fish year, though. Okay, so think locally, farmers markets, every town, right? We need to make sure we have farmers markets going. Get on Facebook, start talking with, I hate Facebook. Okay, so get on your social media site. I'm not on Facebook. If you guys are looking for me, it's not happening. I can't in good conscience support anything they do. And I miss it. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, I have withdrawals every now and again. I'm not going to lie. But MeWe's a good community. You can find me over there. That's the one I really use to replace Facebook. Anyhow, so get local, think local, support the people that are growing if you don't want to grow. If you have space to do it, you better do it. And then you can trade and barter items, and that's a decentralized structure. If you have a skill, you can trade it. So if there's somebody who's like farming, they have extra product and you know how to make websites or something, you know, you could do a trade with them. Get creative, right? But barters are actually taxable. Yeah.
Of course they are.
Of course they are. So you should like keep a record, and
so don't barter with the tax man.
Yeah, and also the person that you're bartering with, make sure that the expectations are clear. Like you guys could write down like this for that, you know, so that there's no mitigation needed in that kind of situation. Try to live near like-minded people. So I know it's hard to move right now. It's really the housing bubble and all this stuff. But man, you got to surround yourself with people that believe in the higher power of God and who want to come back to a better place and have that inner goodness. Because when things start getting more and more difficult, nobody's going to know who to trust. And so you need to surround yourself with people who are like-minded. And if you can't move, then try to develop that network where you are. It's going to be worth its weight in gold. Good values. Over the next 10 years, your money is going to go down by 10% every year. And that was Obama's Department of Treasury lead who said that. So every year you're going to lose 10%. So if you have money in the bank every year, that's going to be 10% less buying power. So what can you buy right now? Gold and silver, of course, always holds value. That's what people fall back to. This was on Glenn Beck too. So this was hilarious to listen to this episode. Food, Cigarettes have value. Liquor. So people value. I'm like, these alcoholics that aren't getting their liquor anymore. And that's one of the things going on the supply shortage list too. Champagne and beer.
Oh my goodness.
Right? Yeah. So like
you can make beer though.
Right? You can. I don't know about champagne. I'm not really overly concerned about champagne.
No, me either.
And I would probably have lean towards having some kind of hard liquor around because you can use it medicinally.
Because these are going to be tough times.
Well, you can use it medicinally, you know.
Well, vodka, right? Vodka's supposed to be good for tinctures and stuff.
Right. For tinctures, any kind of grain alcohol is really good for that.
Yep.
So sugar is something you can stock now, and that brings us full circle, right? Ammunition, right. Guns, seeds, and skills. So that really got me thinking, and older trucks. If you haven't noticed, their value is going up.
Right?
Yeah. And it's because you can fix them on your own without having to have like chips and all this stuff.
What we were just talking about, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So buy quality products. Stop like spending in excess and buy quality things you can fix. It's worth the little bit of extra money for it to be around for the long haul. You know, one of the things that our grandparents used to say is you can't believe how fast things can change. Right?
I can now.
That's why they were still like saving stuff and acting that way till the day they died. Because they were still scared of it happening again. And they were all used to growing their own food and canning and finding things, you know, and living a little bit more creatively than we are these days.
Right. And having like the scrapyard in the back that you could always find the part to kind of remanufacture to fix whatever you need to fix.
My grandfather's, he had this Alice Chalmers tractor. Yeah. And oh my gosh, it was like tin can air filter. Like, I mean, so many things were jerry-rigged on that.
Awesome.
And it still ran and it still did its job. Yeah.
That jerry-rigging is a skill. It's not just an easy way out.
No. I mean, it has to work, right? And you're like literally remaking parts for it.
Yep.
So that's crazy.
Shade tree mechanic.
And so if we can take any advice from our elder, it's that it can happen so fast, right? So get off electronics, have paper records, have maps and know how to read them. You know, and then be the one employee that no one can fire. You are like the linchpin of the system. Or if you're running your own business, you have that thing that people have to have kind of deal. That's going to make sure you stay secure in your positions. And then be that honest person that has integrity and charity, because it's going to come down. Nobody's going to know who to trust. And if you've always been that person who's been honest, forthcoming, giving, you know, people are going to, okay, well, they've always been this way, you know.
Yeah, the word of mouth is going to be your friend.
Exactly. So I was looking up like the crops that require the most fertilizer, because that's really the big problem that people are talking about and what the farmers are facing right now. And cotton is actually a big one. So that's our clothes. That's all our stuff. There is the reason why we should be saving, you know, scraps and saving old clothes, stuff like that. Patching is going to come back into issue. You know, don't buy clothes that have holes in them. You're going to put the holes in them, okay? Like, you know.
Yeah, to get them the old-fashioned way, you're going to earn them.
Yeah, exactly. And then corn. So corn requires a lot of fertilizer. Corn's really important. I mean, how many products have high fructose corn syrup in them? Right?
Too many.
So, you know, farmers are like, well, do I plant the corn and then spend the money on the fertilizer, or do I switch to soy? But then if a lot of other farmers switch to a different product, then that's going to make the value of corn go up. The other problem with corn is that's what most of the livestock eats.
Right.
So that's just going to, you know, equal higher meat prices, higher feed prices for your animals. So we're going to have to kind of start shifting brain patterns there. Like if you're raising chickens and whatnot, you could start doing mealworms and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
You got to start getting, you know, putting something out there that can get some maggots on them. They'll eat all that stuff. It's disgusting, but it's a different way to feed them other than I'm going to go to the store and buy a bag of feed and bring it home and feed it to my animal.
Yeah, I noticed on Craigslist the other day that a mill was doing soy for animal feed.
Yeah.
as opposed to grains.
But again, like soy has the estrogen in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you have to start wondering what that switchover would do. Because you shouldn't be feeding males a lot of soy products all the time. Yeah, for legit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the sugar shortages, though, are not really due to the fertilizer. They're due to the extreme weather. The cane sugar got hit hard down south, and then we have beet sugar, and they got hit hard up north. So it was kind of a double whammy on that market. So I know you have some other stuff, but I'm going to go through the 12 sweeteners that you can grow at home. And I was actually pretty surprised by this list. And honey is not on the list, just so I was kind of shocked.
But that's like another one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's a multi-purpose because the bees help with the pollination.
The pollination. It's a fertilization,
Yeah.
And it's just as important. Like if you don't have the correct fertilization for your cucumber plants, you're not going to have cucumbers. They need that. Absolutely.
Yeah. And honey. I mean, I used honey and I switched from sugar to honey for my coffee. So yeah.
Did you?
That years ago. Yeah. Yep.
Wow. You're brave.
It's good stuff.
I know. I'm still stuck on like creamer. I'm spoiled.
Yeah, well,
I know.
How are you going to make that in your home?
I know. I bought like the backup powder, the horrible stuff. I have it like stored back in like the I'm never going to touch it area. So just in case we're really hard up, that's like the last to come out, right? So, yeah. Okay, so anyway, 12 sweeteners you can grow at home, and I bet you're going to be surprised. So agave. This is actually a Mexican plant. It grows in warmer climates. So if you're in zones like 9 to 11, Texas area, down south and that, the sap is harvested from the plant, except the plant takes about 7 to 10 years to mature.
Is that tequila?
It is tequila, I believe. Yep. Yeah, the agave plant. But it makes a really great sugar as well.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that.
Barley.
Probably less of a headache in the morning.
Yeah, I see. I don't really care for tequila overly. Yeah. Barley malt syrup. So this is made from cooked sprouted barley. It's about half as sweet as honey or sugar. You can make a birch syrup. So from a birch tree.
Birch beer, isn't that like a soda?
I don't know.
Yeah, there's like a root beer, but a birch beer.
Huh. Yep. So it said it was more caramel-like. It has more minerals in it, so it's often used in like sauces and glazes rather than like as a sugar substitute, but definitely. Coconut sugar. The sap of a coconut palm tree is similar to brown sugar or molasses.
Huh. Look at that.
I did not know that. So again,
I don't have any coconuts growing around here though.
Nah, not where you're at, but like Florida, down south, that kind of stuff. And then if you can harvest it and then start shipping it out to people who need it, boom, now you got an income. Right? Dried fruits and fruit juice. So the longer that you simmer any kind of fruit, the sweeter it's going to get. You can use that as a substitute. You can use that as your desserts and things like that. Of course, like strawberry shortcake and whatnot. Maple syrup. So plant more maples and harvest them things. Sorghum syrup. So sorghum is actually a very drought resistant plant. So if you're in like Arizona, California, New Mexico, Texas, right? Sorghum's a really great plant. It really grows really fast. And the sweet green juice is pressed out of the plant and cooked. So that one is one that I was like, oh, star by that one. And sorghum is super sweet. Stevia.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah, they have it in the store. Same with agave.
Yeah.
I mean, the agave is coming up in popularity big time. Stevia. So I didn't know that stevia was a natural sugar. It absolutely is. It likes full sun. It's a fast-growing plant. Just 3 to 4 of these plants will make enough sugar for a family of 4 for the whole year.
Wow.
However, the natives of South America use it as a contraceptive. So if you want to have a child,
so if you want to stay at 4,
stay away from the stevia. Yeah. But in a post-collapse scenario, when you don't have access to birth control and you don't really want to be pregnant unless it's very, very planned and everything, stevia. So that received a star in my book as well. I'm always on the lookout for those kind of things as a female. Sugar beets. So sugar beets most are actually genetically modified, so they're sweeter. So if you're like into organic products and stuff like that, you have to really look hard for organic sugar beet seeds. But that's where we get a lot of sugar from. And then you can actually grow sugar cane to make your own sugar or molasses. And the unrefined sugar actually has more minerals in it. It'll grow in zones 9 to 11. It's really more of a tropical plant, so that's why it's grown in like Brazil and those kind of equator countries. But you can grow it in a greenhouse. There's a guy in Georgia that was talking about how he grows his the sugar cane, and then he harvests it right before winter and just covers it all with mulch for the winter time. And it'll survive in the next year. It's a perennial plant, so it'll just grow over and over again. I was like, wow, I need to research this more because sugar is super important. The other big one's going to be salt. How do we get salt?
Yep, salt. Yeah.
Right? Then there are sugar pines. So sugar pines come from a sugar pine. Well, the sugar pine cone is what you're after. They're very long cones. These trees grow from the west coast to Oregon down to Baja California. And the sweet resin can be boiled down to make sugar just the same way. Sugar pines. Grow multiple types. So try to experiment with a couple of them so that if one fails, you have another backup. And of course, if you're going to plant a tree right now, plant a fruit tree. Or plant like one that you're going to be able to get a product off of. I'm big time into edible landscaping. Nothing goes in around the house unless you can eat it, right? Or like it's useful to attract bees or keep certain pests away or things like that. So edible landscape, big time. All right. And then, of course, the bees that, are good. If you're into beekeeping, that's awesome. You should do it. Honey is a great product to be able to take to the market and, get that little bit of extra income and things like that. So if you're into it, you should definitely pursue that avenue. I'm just not very into it myself. Luckily, other people are.
Great.
And that's okay, right? Like, that's why we have barter stuff. I'd be more into raising a pig right now. That's what I want next. And there's a lot of people that wouldn't want to raise a pig, So I can trade my stuff. They could trade theirs, and we're all set.
How much honey does each bee make?
Oh, man, it's got to be
Trivia.
It's probably crazy. Like, over their lifetime? Or...
Well, they don't live that long.
All right.
Each bee. It's 1/12 of a teaspoon per bee.
Really? I thought it'd be more.
Takes tens of thousands of workers.
Yeah, fair enough. Because like each colony is 60,000 bees.
Yeah,
it can be up to like 60,000 bees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brock's boss had like an invasion of bees at their house. And it was a colony in migration.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to set up in the house. Yeah. So luckily they got it fast. But they had that going on. All right, guys. So that'll do it. If you have any questions, comments, you want to get a hold of me, www.changingearthseries.com is the way to do it. Happy to have new members over there. Come join us. You can get into all the archives, all the bonus information, all the bonus books, that kind of thing. The website has a new skin recently, so if you haven't been over there in a while, you should go check it out and then let me know how you like it. www.changingearthseries.com. All right, until next time, remember, dream,
survive,
thrive.
Thank you for joining Sarah and Chen for this episode of the Changing Earth podcast. Don't forget to pick up your copy of Day After Disaster at www.authorSarahFHathaway.com. If you love the Changing Earth series and podcast,